Welcome to case study number 3. Okay, today's case study, we are going to look at how it was possible that my client was spending $42,000 a year because she was a perfectionist. You're like, what? Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this client. So she, like me, worked in the beauty industry. She was doing incredible. But here's the thing about working in the beauty industry, there's a lot of perfectionism that happens in this space. And I know for me, I was very conditioned to believe if you don't look perfect, don't show up, right? It's the beauty industry. You have to look a certain way in order to be accepted and be seen in certain ways. Blah. So she was very committed to having the perfect aesthetic. It was very important to her. Having a perfect self image, a very polished self image was something that was very, very valuable to her. And what she didn't realize was this was costing her big. And she was very successful. She was a C suite executive. She was making a lot of money. So it's not like she didn't have the money for it, but she just didn't understand that perfectionism was really what was behind her purchase decisions and why she was doing the things that she was doing. So when we actually dove into studying her mindset and why she was spending on these specific things, we got to the root of what it was. And it actually was rooted in a lot of unprocessed pain and conditioning that she believed she needed to look perfect and present herself as perfect in order to be successful. So I find this is a very common thing for a lot of women, A, in the beauty industry, and B, who have been taught that perfectionism equals success, right? The more perfect I am, the more successful I will be. But this sometimes costs us in other areas of our life. So let me show you what was happening for her. So for her, when we broke down her monthly expenses, when we worked together inside the program, what we found was she was spending $1,000 a month on shopping. So she was buying a lot of designer things. She was very committed to making sure she had a very chic aesthetic. She wanted a lot of designer labels because that made her feel successful and important through the clothes that she was wearing. So she shopped a lot. She spent about $250 a month on makeup and skincare. And that was actually on top of what her company was already paying for, because a lot of beauty companies will pay for certain products for you to test and wear and yada yada. So she was spending $250 a month on that. She was getting $350 facials at a very high-end boutique here in LA, spending $100 on her nails, 300 on hair, which actually is pretty cheap, I have to say, for LA standards. $400 a month on massages because she was so stressed out from having this very high powered executive position. She was carrying a lot of stress and tension in her body. So she would get weekly massages to try to alleviate that. But what she didn't understand yet is that wasn't something that could be alleviated from a physical standpoint. It had to be alleviated up here, which is what we were able to resolve in our work together. She was spending $500 on laser, getting $100 spray tans every single month, and then $500 on going out. And what she realized is then she had to have outfits to go out too, right? And then she was spending, money on drinks at these really fabulous locations because her whole lifestyle was very bougie, right? So she wanted to have drinks at these beautiful fancy rooftop locations where one drink might be $18, $20. So in total, she was spending $35 or $3,500 a month on these things, right? Because this is really what was making her feel like she was good enough. And so what we realized is times that by 12, we now have a $42,000 a year expenditure. And when she saw this, she's like, I can't believe that this is what's been happening. I'm like, well, I mean, you have the money to keep spending this way. Do you want to keep spending this way? And she's like, no, this is ridiculous. So when she actually got to the root of what was behind her spending, it was perfectionism. And it was coming from this conditioning that she had received as a little girl, and she'd never dug into it before. And for so many of us, we don't. Our insecurities aren't typically our own. They're handed to us by the women in our life, or, our moms, our aunties, our grandmas, our sisters, people that are around us. And we expect them to teach us how to feel confident and how to feel secure and how to feel like we don't need to be perfect. But if they've never been taught that, they can't teach it to us because it's impossible to teach something that you don't know. So what we're taught for a lot of us growing up is insecurity and you need to be perfect. So then we get into traps like this where we're spending and getting into this pattern of spending to actually feel good enough and feed our desire to be perfect. So we actually, in our work together in the CAN program, we revised her spending essentials and we developed her wealth plan. So this was a big focus for us of, instead of spending this on making her feel perfect, let's get this into a wealth portfolio. Let's get this into creating more life experience versus just spending to feel perfect. So we actually were able to find a way to save $3,100 per month. And she was no longer spending emotionally. She was no longer spending to feel perfect and drive, using that as a reason to drive her purchase decisions. And then as a bonus, she got 52 hours of her month back because she was no longer going to these appointments and shopping and going out and, staying super busy to avoid feeling her feelings and thinking. So when we don't understand what's behind our thoughts and how this is driving our feelings and how this is influencing our purchase, decisions and how we spend our time and money, this gets us into a pattern of really feeling like nothing in life will ever be enough. So my goal as a coach is to make sure that you have more than enough, right? So we've got to get you out of habits like these because this all becomes habitual because then it's just what you do. It's just what you know, right? So we get you into a space where you're actually planning for your wealth, that we are getting you into a place of surplus and in full control over how you spend both your time and money. So I want to make sure that you have all the time and money that you need to thrive. And that is why in month one of the CAN program, we spend a lot of time building your financial and your time confidence and getting you into a space where you are no longer spending emotionally. You are 100% in control over your purchase decisions. So I use my signature wealth planning system and my time optimization system to get you there. And I basically cultivated this system and created this system through 15 years of managing big budgets, like multi-million dollar budgets and huge timelines for Fortune 500 companies. So that made it very easy for me to bring all of that know-how into your life to help you start getting into a place where you are spending from a place of security and ease and confidence. So if this is the support you need, I invite you to join the CAN program today. Just send me a message and we will talk about how to get started.